Hi, I'm Sharmaine. Welcome to Curiosity Over Fear, where we have the difficult conversations about overcoming fear with courage and curiosity. So, whether you're looking to change something with your career or just everyday life, I invite you to join me on this journey to be less fearful and more daring. Hello and welcome. Today's episode is part one of a two-part series of the masks we wear. And since it's Halloween season, I felt like it was the perfect time to talk about the real masks we wear, the emotional and social ones. In this first part, we'll explore why we hide and how curiosity helps us start peeling those layers back. And next time, we'll dive into what happens when curiosity leads to vulnerability, which is the courage to be real. So I think we all know what I mean when I say the masks we wear, not the physical ones, but the emotional, social ones, where we put on these personas to feel safe, accepted, or normal. Maybe you know this feeling. You're at a party, you are struggling with something, and you're hurting inside. But when a friend asks how you are, you force a smile and say, I'm fine. That smile is a mask. Or how about when you're afraid to admit that you don't know something, so you're not alone? That's another mask. We wear these masks to protect ourselves, to hide our insecurities and pain, hoping to be accepted. As one of my favorite researcher, Brene Brown, would say, many of us live with a fear of disconnection, worried that if others saw our real, imperfect selves, we wouldn't be worthy of love or belonging. So we cover up, we perform, we try to be who we think we should be instead of who we are. And for a while, it seems like these masks help us keep safe. But carrying a mask is heavy. If you've ever pretended to be okay when you were breaking inside, you know that weight. We long to take these masks off, to feel seen for who we really are. Yet, vulnerability is scary. Showing our true face, flaws and all, risks rejection. It's no wonder we cling to our disguises. Shame whispers that without them, we won't be loved. Still, a quiet voice inside of us hopes for something more authentic. So, how do we let that real self breathe? How do we gently lift these masks away? Maybe the key is something simple, our own human curiosity about ourselves and each other, and that can help us begin to take off our disguises. So, this episode may get heavy for some people. So, let's get comfortable and take a deep breath together and let's gently peek beneath the masks we wear. Okay, so let's start with why these masks exist. From a young age, we learn that showing certain emotions can lead to judgment or even punishment. Maybe you were told to stop crying, you're being dramatic, or you felt pressure to be the strong one who never complains. And over time, we internalize the message that some parts of me are not acceptable. So we cover up those parts, hide them behind a socially accepted mask. We present what seems likable or tough or calm, even if the inside we feel the opposite. Psychologist Carl Rogers noted how we often wear a protective facade to avoid loneliness or rejection. But as he observed, when I present myself as I am, without armor, just me, I can be much more real. And in his years of counseling people, Carl Rogers found that dropping the defensive mask, coming out wearing no armor, and not hiding behind a facade actually brought him closer to others and relieved the inner loneliness. In other words, the very connection we crave comes not from hiding who we are, but from letting ourselves be seen. Brené Brown, who has spent decades studying shame and vulnerability, discovered that authentic connection not only happens when we have the courage to show our true selves. She famously said that In order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen, really seen. That means taking the risk to drop our guard a bit. I know it's ironic that we wear masks to be accepted, yet wearing them keeps us feeling alone. The paradox is that vulnerability, which we think will isolate us, is actually the doorway to the belonging we need. Of course, dropping our mask is easier said than done. The fear of rejection is powerful. And if you've ever hesitated to speak up about something important to you or admit you're struggling, you know that flash of fear. What if they think I'm weak? What if I'm laughed at or judged? Our brains treat social rejection like a threat. The same survival circuits that warn us for danger light up at the thought of being excluded or ridiculed. So naturally, we avoid anything that might make us look not good enough. We stick to the script, the small talk, the agreeable nods. We say yes when we mean no. We keep the mask on tight. So I want to pause here and just acknowledge how normal this is. If you're relating to any of this, you're not alone. All of us have masks. All of us have moments or years of pretending to be someone we're not. Brene Brown's research on shame revealed that this feeling, I am not enough, I have to cover up, is universal. It's part of being human. So there's no need to judge ourselves for it. In fact, judging and shaming ourselves for wearing a mask only adds another layer to the disguise. Instead, what if we tried something different? What if we met our masks and the fears underneath with a bit of gentle curiosity? Curiosity is this simple, almost childlike impulse, a desire to know more, to understand. When we're curious, we ask questions instead of jumping to conclusions. We explore rather than shut down. And here's the magic: curiosity and judgment have a hard time coexisting. The moment you get genuinely curious about something, you've taken a step away from judging it, and that includes being curious about yourself. So, what does it mean to approach our own emotions and behavior with curiosity? It might sound like, huh, I'm putting on my everything's okay mask with my relationship, even though I feel anxious. I wonder why I feel I can't show my anxiety. What am I afraid of? What do I need? Notice how different that feels from self criticism. You're not saying, ugh, I'm so fake. What's wrong with me? You're saying, I wonder why I do this. That small shift from judgment to wonder is profound. This kind of non judgmental awareness is a core element of mindfulness and emotional health. By getting curious instead of condemning ourselves, we create a safe internal space to observe what's really going on. And we can start to see the emotions under the mask, the hurt, the fear, with more compassion. Curiosity also transforms how we relate to others. When we usually feel threatened or criticized, our instinct is to become defensive, which is another type of mask or armor. But studies have shown that curiosity can actually lessen our defensiveness, even in stressful situations. If someone's upset with us and instead of snapping back, we genuinely ask, what's going on for them? Why might they feel this way? That can diffuse conflict. Organizational research by Francesca Gino, who is from Harvard, found that approaching people with curiosity, asking questions, withholding immediate judgment, leads to more trusting and collaborative relationships. It makes sense, right? Because when you're curious, the other person feels heard rather than judged, so they lower their guard too. In fact, curiosity is a bridge to empathy. As one leadership insight succinctly put it, curiosity leads to empathy, which creates space for compassion. When we step back from our snap judgment about someone and wonder what it's like to be them, we naturally start to empathize. We see a fuller picture. We might even realize that the other person wears masks too. Maybe that grumpy coworker is distant not because they hate everyone, but because they're going through a painful time. A curious question: I wonder why they've been so quiet lately. can replace a harsh story with an empathetic one. Psychologists call this overcoming of bias as the antidote to the fundamental attribution error, where we assume others' behaviors are just traits, like he's rude, she's lazy, instead of questions. Maybe there's an explanation I don't see. By suspending judgment and asking, I wonder, we invite understanding. Even a simple reframe like, I wonder why she has trouble getting here on time, can reveal solutions and improve a relationship. Perhaps you learn she lacks reliable transportation or is caring for a sick parent, reasons you wouldn't have known without asking. Curiosity pierces through the mask and finds the human beneath, both in others and in ourselves. There's an interesting neuroscience angle here, too. When we get curious, our brains actually reward us. Research by neuroscience Yak Punsep showed that curiosity, what he's called the brain seeking system, is driven by dopamine circuits, the same pathways that create feelings of anticipation and pleasure. In other words, being curious feels good to the brain, it's intrinsically rewarding. That might be one reason why worry or fear often feels so bad. They don't come with any neurochemical reward, just stress. But if we can spark even a bit of curiosity in a fearful situation, we tap into the brain's natural feel good circuitry. Now, another psychiatrist and neuroscientist, Dr. Judson Brewer, who studies anxiety, describes curiosity as a kind of superpower for breaking out of negative thought loops. In his research, Dr. Brewer found that anxiety often becomes a habit. We feel anxious, then we start worrying as a mental behavior to try to control uncertainty. But that worry just makes us more anxious. And there goes the vicious cycle. The key to interrupting isn't brute force willpower, it's curiosity. Dr. Brewer teaches anxiety patients to mindfully get curious about their feelings, to gently investigate what does my anxiety feel like? Where do I sense it in my body? What thoughts are coming up? This active, curious attention does two things. First, it helps people realize that worrying actually doesn't feel good or solve anything. It updates the brain's reward value of worry, showing the mind that worry is a dead end. And second, it offers the brain a bigger, better offer. Focusing on curiosity feels meaningfully better than spinning in worry. Patients often report, huh, when I'm curious about my pain or my fear, it doesn't overwhelm me as much. It kind of shrinks it. Remarkably, in a clinical trial, training people with generalized anxiety disorder to meet their anxious thoughts with curiosity led to a 67% reduction in anxiety symptoms, a far greater improvement than standard anxiety medications achieve. That's the power of approaching our inner struggles with an attitude of open curiosity. We're not fighting our fear head on, which often makes us push it back harder. We're befriending it, studying it, even gently laughing at the tricks it plays. And in that space of awareness, the fear loses its grip. Think about it. When we turn toward our difficult emotions with curiosity instead of aversion, we create a little breathing room. Instead of being consumed by an emotion or frantically trying to suppress it, we become an observer, an explorer of our experience. If anxiety or shame is a dark cave, curiosity is like bringing a lantern. The darkness might still be there, but it's not so daunting when we're holding a light and looking around. In practical terms, next time you notice yourself throwing a familiar mask, maybe you're about to tell a lie to avoid criticism or you're holding back tears to seem in control. Try this. Pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? What is this mask protecting? What do I truly need? You might even journal or talk out loud. I notice I'm faking a smile. Why? Well, I'm scared that if I show I'm upset, I'll burden my friend. Interesting. Is that true? Would my friend really push me away if I admitted I'm struggling? Maybe they'd actually want to help. Hmm. By following one curious question with another, You gently unravel the story that's keeping the mask in place. You could decide to keep the mask in that moment because sometimes it is wise to not spill your soul to everyone. Context matters, of course, but you'll be doing it with awareness, not by default. And awareness gives you choice. With curiosity, wearing a mask shifts from unconscious habit to a conscious decision you're making. And that makes all the difference. Curiosity helps us see behind our mask. But if we keep following it, something even deeper happens. It leads us straight to vulnerability, the moment we let ourselves truly be seen. That's what we'll explore next time. So that's it for today. I didn't want it to be super long, so I cut it in two parts. So thank you for being here with me today, and I'll see you next week for part two. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to leave me a review so that I can send you a free Curiosity Over Fear sticker. Then, after writing the review, claim your free gift by taking a screenshot and sending it to me via direct message on Instagram at Curiosity Over Fear. Thank you for joining me this week on Curiosity Over Fear. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can get a reminder to tune in every other Thursday for new episodes. And remember, always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage and curiosity?